What's up? Everybody in here? Justin Johnson, what's up, brother? Cool, man. Sorry it took me so long to get here. I don't know if you're still here. It looks like it always says 0 on my ends. I don't. It always looks like nobody's watching me. Anyways, I wanted to talk about some stuff that I find interesting, and just for the hell of it, maybe I'll wait for someone to show up. Sorry I was so late. Jeranism time, yeah. Looks like we're getting some of these going on here. I don't know how people don't notice that we're being sprayed like bugs. Kind of discouraging. Well, I want someone to show up before I start talking too much. Then I'll get into my point, and then people will show up, and I'll be halfway through it. I'll just have to start over. These guys across the street are always making so much noise, maybe I'll go on a walk. And hopefully while I'm walking, people will show up. I love you, baby. I'm gonna go on a little walk. I don't know if you feel like coming. I'm doing a stream while I go, but you're welcome to join me if you want. I love you, baby. Well, maybe I'll just start talking even though nobody's here. I'm assuming somebody probably will watch this. I always trip out on like the undertones and the buried meanings of things that get glossed over that people don't look at typically, and it fascinates me. Sometimes I think it's planned out a certain way because of that, and sometimes I think it's just divine, the way things carry out in life and how people can be aptly named. It always has fascinated me. Like, I have all kinds of examples of that. Like, for instance, like Admiral Byrd is famous for his flights. He's a bird. He flies. I mean, there's plenty of examples I could go on and on. I mean, for instance, Johnny Depp, his first role was a undercover cop on 21 Jump Street, and Johnny is slang for cops, Johnny Law, and Depp is like short for department or deputy. He's aptly named. I'm just trying to come up with examples for this. And there's a lot of examples. I mean, like I said, Admiral Byrd is famous for his flights. He's a bird. And that's kind of an appropriate one because what I'm talking about here is TFE. And I'm going to point out how the participants in the TFE were all, not all of them, but some of them were quite aptly named for what they were doing. This is like I'm going to walk by some people here real quick. Hello. But yeah, what I find to be fascinating is well, for one thing, I think it's interesting. Austin Whitsitt. Austin. The name Austin is, I think it means like magnificent or majestic. It's like it's like a good, the good thing, the majestic, the magnificent. And but Austin, Os means south, like the etymology. Os is like derived from in Greek or Latin. I think it means south, but also Ost, if you look it up, the prefix, it means it's having to do with the sun rising in the east. So it's interesting that his name has to do with the sunrise, and also Os has to do with the south. But what's even more interesting is that Whitsitt, the name Wit, W-H-I-T-T, no, it's W-H-I-T-S-I-T-T or something. But what it means, if you look it up, it's a name. Whitsitt is a name, it's an old name, but what it means is white side. It means white slopes, or white sides, white slopes. So his name basically means Ost as in pertaining to southern, Ost as in pertaining to the sunrise from the east, and Whitsitt, white slopes. You start to see sort of a common theme going on. And then, now let's talk about Will Duffy. William is sort of like a godly name. It's like Will, I am. It means it means determined. And Duffy, the name Duffy means the dark one. Dark. It's a dark meaning, the dark one, black. So we have Whitsitt, which means the white side, white slopes, magnificent, great. And Duffy, which is like the dark one. These are the meanings of their names. I'm not making this shit up. The dark one. I think Austin Whitsitt is an interesting personality. I've noticed his maturity level has grown, but I've always thought he was too smart for the level of maturity that he asserts. I'm trying to think of how to explain that. Like he's so incredibly clever. He just understands things pretty well, I think. But he's gifted at debate, and he's gifted at I don't want to say word salad, but he's gifted at using words in a way that's convincing. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to explain here, but he's really, he strikes you as being incredibly smart. Yet he does things that are immature. Like he acts immature in ways where I'm like, I would think someone who's as smart as he is would see the certain ways he's acting as being immature. Like it strikes me as being weird. It's a weird mixture of personalities. And I've caught him in white lies. It's funny, his last name means white. Whitsitt means white side. White slopes is what it means, white slopes. And Austin, the name Austin, Os is pertaining to the southern area. Ost with a T, it means it's pertaining to a sunrise. And I think Os is pertaining to the southern hemisphere. I think it's really like that's what Australia. It's like Os is has meaning, the etymology is southern, and then Ost with a T has to do with the sunrise, and Witsit is white side, which it's having to do with the white slopes. They said that's what they mean. I looked up the meanings of these names, and Austin, the name means magnificent, means majestic. So it's interesting how his name really has a lot to do with his role he played in this movie. And then Duffy, the name Duffy means the dark one, black. The dark one. That's the meaning of the fucking name. And it's just weird how we have the dark one and then the white one. It's like we got completely like opposing meanings in their names, the roles they're playing. I got more too. I'll just take a little break here. Jaren's name wasn't of much interest. It was Jaren. The name Jaren, the male name Jaren is like a joyous cry, or something like that. A joyous cry, and then his last name Campanella is like a little bell, little bell. So I don't really know what to make of all that, but I think it's just interesting how Austin Witsit's name really, the description of his name seems to be so aptly suitable to the role that he played in this whole final experiment. And same with Duffy, the dark one, and Witsit, the white one, the white slopes of Antarctica in the southern regions pertaining to the sunrise. This is what his name means. It's about the magnificent sunrise in the south on the white slopes of Antarctica. That's what his name means. If you look this up, you'll verify what I'm talking about. Sorry, I'm not all good at like making presentations or whatever. I don't have all the stuff pulled up on the screen. I'm just spitting words into my phone here. But Duffy's name means the dark one. He's the dark one, and Witsit is the white one. The good guy and the bad guy. It's a movie. It's a production. And Sovereign Soul Unchained. Is his name Dave? I always forget if I get his name wrong. Dave. Anyway, he's got a darn good point with the fact that we're still in the same situation we were in before, where there's still no real there's never been a live stream for 24 hours, if that's even possible, but that would be what we'd want, really, ideally, is a 24-hour stream of the 24-hour sun, like a live stream from Antarctica for 24 hours, if that's possible. It seems like it should be, somewhat possible. Where, you put in the effort to just keep it going. Someone goes to sleep and while the next person takes the shift, and keeps the fucking, if it has to end after 12 hours, you just start it again. But you keep the stream going for 24 hours, and there's always somebody there manning the stream, talking or whatever, and just making sure that everybody's on board, paying attention to what's happening. It's a live stream of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. That's what we all want. That's what would be the best proof, where we're interacting with the person who's sitting there observing the sun for 24 hours. They don't have to be there. It can be a person that takes over a different shift and then continues with the stream. And that's the most logical way to convince people of what they're seeing. It's like, and then, in the meantime, it's going to take 24 hours. It's going to be a while. It's a long, so there's going to have to be stuff that happens while we're doing this. It's like the people that we're interacting with while we're streaming the 24-hour sun can say, hey, can you make a snowman or something, or can you fucking, take a hit off a vape and let's compare it to what it looks like, and just interact with the people, and like, if there's people that are doubting the legitimacy, just have them ask questions. What can you do to like prove that it's real? Like, just interact on that level where it's like, okay, I know that there's been a lot of doubt cast on this, so let's just try to make this as believable. Like, what do I need to do while I'm here filming the 24-hour sun to convince you that this is a real thing? And just like to get to Antarctica and then to not think of to not have thought of that before you got there, even. It's like, we're going to stream for 24 hours live. We're going to take turns doing this, so it's a constant stream, instead of just getting there and being like, oh yeah, it's a real thing, I'm going to go to bed. It's like, I wanted to have, like, the whole thing streamed live. I think that's what we all wanted, and since it didn't happen, now we're just stuck with the same shit we had before, which is like these 24-hour time lapse, that have been posted by, deceptive globers that like have incentive, financial incentives to continue this, perpetrating this globe Earth shit, and fucking, and have been caught being deceptive before, outright deceptive. They have like financial incentives to make this, to make us all believe this thing, and like, for all I know, it seems to me that it's quite possible there is a 24-hour sun there. What I find to be weird is it's just that it was up to Flat Earth to come along and point out that there wasn't any evidence of it in the beginning. And at that point, then the evidence started showing up. But like, why was it up to Flat Earth to point that out? And why is it now like the Flat Earthers have to go down there and fucking verify it? Like, what the fuck? There's never been any like scientific, official, documentation of it where there's like evidence that's been, proof of it. It's like video proof where they've gone down there and streamed it for 24 hours, whatever. I guess it was the first time they've ever been able to stream live in Antarctica. The whole thing just plays out so convenient for the whole movie, I mean, this is the movie. We're part of the movie. Like, our reaction to this, it's all going to be all fucking neatly all packaged up, It's not going to be making us look good. What I find to be weird is that the guy making the documentary is a flat earther, apparently. He's been hired by Duffy, and in attempts to make it appear as though he's being fair. And the guy has like talked to flat earthers quite a bit, and like, I guess Dave Weiss and all these guys, and he's agreed to like represent the flat earth fairly, and even to like put some flat earth proofs in the documentary, as to show people why people think the earth is flat. For me, I wish I could get people to see it the way I do as far as earth being flat. I'll try, because the way I see it, it's broken in my mind. The logic is broken. Think about it. If you were standing in one place, any one place on the earth, it helps if you're standing at the North Pole, but like, really, if the earth is a globe, you should be standing at any one place. And now imagine the area that surrounds you, like a circle around the area that you're standing in right now. Now imagine like an imaginary perimeter from where you're standing right now. Imagine it's expanding out evenly in every direction. So there's more and more area that's encompassed by this perimeter. It gets bigger and bigger, but you're right in the very middle of it, right? So this perimeter is expanding out evenly in every direction with you in the very middle. Now, do you think that as much as that you'll always be in the middle, like that perimeter can expand indefinitely, you'll always be in the middle, right? If you just stay right there, the perimeter is expanding out evenly in every direction. You're in the middle. Most people, I would say, would agree that makes sense, that you'll always be in the middle while that perimeter is expanding out. However big it gets, you'll always be right in the middle. It's expanding evenly in every direction. Okay, now on the globe, we're supposed to think that after that perimeter reaches the circumference of 24,000 miles, that now somehow that perimeter is going to flip around and start closing in, shrinking around an entirely different area somewhere else. And now you're no longer in the middle of it. It's closing in around some other area somewhere else. Like that's what would happen if you, on a globe, if my thought experiment, if you're on a globe and it started expanding evenly in every direction, this perimeter, it eventually gets so big that it just flips around and starts closing in around a different area and you're no longer in the middle of it. Does that make any sense logically? No. It's hard for most people to even understand what I'm saying. But like if people could just hear me out and listen, I'm trying to think of different ways of like phrasing it, but it's like you absolutely have to depart from reality in order to believe that it's true. So that's what I got to say about that. Cheers.